September has rolled around, and while that means back to school for plenty of people, here in the U.S. it also means a return to NFL football. Week 1 of the football season is here, and for a lot of millions of Americans, that means it's time for fantasy sports. I had one draft on Sunday. I have another one Thursday night, the actual first night of the start of the league that I'm going to have. It's live. But what I found is that the best smartphone that I've used since it's been out for fantasy football has been the Galaxy Z Fold lineup, and now the Galaxy Z Fold 5. While I'm specifically going to target American football, it's not exclusive to that. I have a friend that does Premier League fantasy teams, Formula One, whatever it happens to be. I really think the experience is best on a foldable, and right now, with the app pairs that we're going to talk about, that means the Z Fold 5. If you haven't yet purchased one, link will be in the description. Does directly help the channel, so I do appreciate you clicking and using those affiliate links. So, why do I like the Fold, specifically the Galaxy Fold, for fantasy sports? Number one is, even if you don't use the app pairs or multitasking, the overall large screen experience really helps out when you're in those different apps. So I'm going to go in here. This is my one team, CBS Sports app. It's nice when you're setting your lineup to have it on a huge display, have your entire team. You can see who's injured. You can see what the projected is. You can see what's going on. You can scroll down. I don't know how many times, there's nobody on the bench right now, so it's not going to let me scroll. I don't know how many times on your iPhone or on your regular slab phone, it is very difficult to set your lineup and make sure you did it properly. Then you're fumbling around, seeing if you hit the right, if you set it right. I know there's one year where I changed positions for people. I started somebody, I went to save it, thought I did, but because of the shifting or whatever, I had messed it up, and that particular player did not start. So that's something that you want to keep your eye on. But I love the full screen experience. The other thing is, I'm going to pull it up here, and it's difficult to kind of see exactly since there's going to be no games going on. But I love the NFL app experience in full screen. You get your full slate of games here. If you're signed up for it's not DirecTV anymore, it's on YouTube. But if you're signed up for NFL Sunday Ticket, then you're going to get the different options that you could have here. But even still locally, you're going to get a game as long as you let it allow for location tracking so it knows where you are. But you're going to get some of the NFL Network. There's some red zone stuff on here to let you know your team stuff. So I love viewing that in full screen. But here's why that I love the Galaxy Fold for fantasy football, and that is the app pairs that you get on this device. So let's close out of this, and we're going to go to my app pairs, and here it is right here. So I have the NFL app, and I have my CBS Sports. So I can have my team here down on the bottom, I could be watching a game up top, and I could have my fantasy results down here on the bottom. And that's something that you can't find on the Pixel Fold right now. Doesn't really work that well on those import folds because, as you saw on a lot of them, some of the Xiaomi devices, you really can't get this top layer where it's kind of landscape. Both apps are in landscape when you're doing app pairing. That's why I like the Galaxy Fold for that, because I like having a full video up here in landscape of the game I'm watching. Then I can have down here what player that I'm watching and keeping track of my scores and my team. The other thing that I like when you do this is that you can have the NFL game here, so you can have the NFL app, plus pair it with whatever your chat app is. So do you have a league chat? Do you have a Discord? Do you have a WhatsApp? That's mine that I have here. You can pull that game up here, or you can pull the app up for your fantasy league up here and trash talk your friends. What's better than that? If you're beating up on somebody in fantasy, you could go ahead and have the game up there, you could have the score up there, and you could be talking to them down below. So I really like that. The other thing that's great is, if you're somebody that's in multiple leagues, you have a CBS Sports League, you have an ESPN League, you have a Yahoo League, or you're all over the place, or you have it in a couple different places. You have a sleeper league. I know a lot of times it's tough to set them. It's a pain. You're going through. It's like, which one did I change? Which one I did not change? You're going in there. What's great is you can have an app pair for both of them, open them both up, have both teams there, so you can set your lineups at the same time or monitor both teams at the same time, and you can have a better overall experience with your foldable device. The other thing is when you're setting lineups, you can have news up top. You can have the Yahoo Sports Fantasy News because it kind of goes in depth as to why the player is out, probable, all the rest of it. So you can have that up top, plus your actual league app down below, so you can be setting lineups while getting the information on who's starting and who's not. So overall, I think it's just a better experience. If you're big into fantasy football, you can have a DraftKings up top. If you're old enough to play, there's the free leagues as well. You can have your regular fantasy down below. You can have the games. There's just a lot of combinations. You can have side by side. You can have Twitter on one side. You can have your fantasy team on the other side. As you're fixing lineups, you can see who's in, who's out, who's starting, game time decisions. You can get that news on Twitter, but then make the adjustment on your fantasy team before the lineups lock. There's just a lot of advantages if you're a big-time fantasy football fan or fantasy fan overall to have you having a gigantic phone like a Z Fold 5, because there's a lot of options and flexibility for both watching the games, setting your lineups, monitoring your teams, and trash-talking your friends. That's just a heck of a lot better than sitting there on your regular slab device, just kind of flipping through, going back and forth between. It's just not as fun of an experience as this device is. And let's say you got one game on your television, want to keep track of multiple games, you can open up the NFL app here, watch a second game. You got YouTube, you got the Sunday Ticket. You can open it up on this device. You can kind of put it in tent mode and have the device open like that. Watch it on the top part of the screen. Have your television there. You can have your fantasy team down below as you watch. So many combinations that you can have when you have something like the Galaxy Z Fold 5 for your sports viewing experience. That's why I love it. Ever since I got the Fold 2, this has been the device that's been glued to my hip on Sundays watching sports, because it just makes it that much more interactive and that much more fun when you're talking about your different leagues and interacting with your friends on Discord, whatever it happens to be, making trades in your league, keeping track of information. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a great companion to have with you, regardless of your fantasy league. Like I said, friend is big into Premier League. I could not even begin to understand Premier League. I like watching it. I understand it's high-level soccer. I'm not getting up on 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning to watch Premier League, but it's interesting. I do like Formula One, so if you're a big Formula One fan, you can have kind of your fantasy lineup set there, and you could go from there. But there are a lot of combinations and different fantasy leagues that you can have and sports that you can watch. And I probably could do cricket on here if you want as well. So there's a lot of advantages to having yourself a device like the Z Fold 5. And until Google gets their app pair situation together, then the Z Fold 5 is the phone that I will be recommending over all others. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, I hope you do better than 2-12. All right, that's all I got to say. I made the finals of my one-year league last year. That's what we got my team. We got a little bonus for the people who stick around for the end of the video. We could go on here. So we got Burrow returning, Chubb, Jacobs, Hawkinson, and Pollard. And I have Gabe Davis actually as an RFA, so I might get him back. It depends on this league. You have contract numbers, salary numbers, and stuff you have to keep track of. You get $120, and you got to kind of fill your team. So that's what. Hopefully Burrow is healthy. Hawkinson, hopefully he gets enough looks. You got Pollard, hopefully he does well. Jacobs and Chubb. Jacobs, you just hope stays healthy, and then you go from there. But that's my team that I'm rocking with. I have another one on a sleeper that I'll pull up in another video perhaps. But until next time, have a good draft and have that Steve-licious day.